Today I'm going to talk about some alarming data that shows that only 44% of retirees are comfortable with their finances. And as an advisor who helps many people retire safely every year, I've seen how retirement can be one of the most enjoyable periods of your life, but many people spend it scrambling for money and in complete distress. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, so that you can know exactly what it takes to beat the statistic and become part of the group that lives the dream during retirement. In this video, I'm going to reveal 3 retirement killers most people overlook when they have a retirement plan. The real reasons why people make these mistakes, no matter how prepared they are or how prepared they think they are, and how to reverse these mistakes regardless of how close you are to retirement. So let's get right into it. In a recent survey done by Schroders, they're a large financial firm, it showed some pretty interesting information about how retirees feel about their finances. And so what I thought was quite interesting is all the reasons that they gave, the top reasons of why they were so concerned, why the majority were so concerned. So I want to go over those concerns and then kind of 3 of the underlying reasons, the real retirement killers that are kind of causing these problems. So the main concerns that the retirees showed in this Schroders study, the top one was actually inflation. And no surprise, many people who are retiring today are, it's kind of like the ghosts of Christmas past. They're reminded of the high inflation they saw early in their career and when they were teenagers by, recent high inflation. So pretty scary thing when you've lived through high inflation periods. You can see just how quickly, the value of your money goes away and you're not able to buy the same things even if you have the same dollars coming in. So that was actually the number one concern of retirees. The next was healthcare costs. And found this one quite interesting. I've got some things to say about that. The next 3, we've got market downturns, not knowing how to generate income or how to really kind of manage your assets, your investments, and draw down your portfolio. And then the last one is kind of goes along with the one I just said, which is the fear of outliving your assets. And so all of these, as I thought about them, I would say that these are definitely the types of questions that I address when I'm talking to people. And over the years doing retirement planning, I would say, generally these are some of the major concerns that most people come to the table with. And so I want to jump into some information about how to actually address these. So let's go over what I'd call the first retirement killer, which is poor planning with Social Security, not maximizing your Social Security. This is the real first killer of a retirement income plan. The reason for that is that the Social Security benefit is uniquely positioned to address, frankly, all of these concerns. So everything from inflation to not running out of money, healthcare costs. Social Security really touches on all of these. And so I want to talk about more than just high-level ideas. I want to talk about some of the specifics of Social Security and why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. And then we're going to talk about the other retirement killers. So first thing with Social Security, how it addresses these major concerns of inflation, of financial security throughout retirement, of healthcare costs, is because Social Security has some very unique characteristics. Social Security income is, number one, guaranteed. You can't outlive it. So there you go, right there. We're addressing some of the concerns about outliving your money. The next benefit is that it is tax-advantaged income. So regardless of how wealthy or how poor you are, when you receive $1 from Social Security, it's going to be taxed better than just about any other source of income. I would say, the exception to that would be, taking a distribution from a Roth IRA or some other kind of form of tax-free income. But Social Security is, compared to many things, is taxed a lot less. And with proper planning you can have even more tax advantages. Also, it is inflation adjusted. So over time, that benefit goes up. And if you have kind of questions about that, you can see year after year what the cost of living adjustments have been. Interesting, earlier in my career, inflation was quite low, and so you would see cost of living adjustments of less than 1% or 1.5% from year to year. But when inflation was especially high during some of the post-COVID years, you had cost of living adjustments in 8%, 5% per year, and that had a major impact in shoring up the financial strength of retirees. So when somebody doesn't understand how Social Security works, then they're really missing out on a huge resource that can address the biggest concerns that retirees have. So the first data point I want to look at is comparing two retired households. Both of them have $90,000 a year of income in their 70s, and we're going to look at a household where the majority of that income is coming from Social Security benefits versus one that has less Social Security income and the remainder is made up from taking money out of retirement accounts. To just kind of what I really want to do with this specific tax example is show some of the tax advantages of Social Security and why proper planning around here is so important at addressing the biggest concerns that retirees have. So let's hop over to that and take a look. All right, so here we are in my tax planning software, and in the left column right here we have let me get out my little marker here. You can follow along with me with what we're doing. We'll get out the yellow. All right. So in this scenario here, column 1, we have a retired couple who has a lot more of their income coming from Social Security. So if you see this, show this here, husband and wife, you have the husband bringing in $48,000 a year from Social Security, and his wife bringing in $24,000 a year. If you think that sounds a little high, it's actually not. In fact, well, I mean, it's above average certainly, but definitely a realistic Social Security benefit. Now, so if that total of between the 48 and the 24,000, so that's a total of $72,000 that they're bringing in from gross Social Security, and the remainder of that to make up that $90,000 is coming in from taking money out of IRAs. Now, in the second scenario, same ages, same couple, but in this one, they have lower Social Security benefits. So husband, $30,000 for the year, spouse bringing in $15,000 for the year. So of that $45,000, the remaining $45,000 is coming from the IRA. So both of them have a total of $90,000 coming in the door. Okay, so let's look at something very unique of Social Security, which is how it is taxed. So here on the left-hand side, you can see taxable Social Security. And you'll notice here that in this first column, the couple's they're receiving $72,000 of Social Security benefits into the household. Now, how much of that is taxed? Not what is the tax rate, but how much of that is even subject to tax? Well, only $14,500. Now, in scenario 2, they're bringing in $45,000. How much of that benefit is subject to tax? $25,975. So how is this possible, right? I mean, larger Social Security benefit, less of it is taxed. Smaller benefit, more of it is taxed. Okay, this does not seem to make sense. Well, this is because Social Security the way that it's taxed follows something called provisional income. So to determine how much of your Social Security benefit is taxable or even subject to tax, you have to first run all of your income through this calculation to determine how much is taxable. So the way that you figure this out is you look at your gross income. So all of your income, and then you're going to add in some of the items that are tax preferenced. So things like the main ones that come up are going to be tax-free municipal bond interest. So you have to add that in to your gross income. Now, you take that number and add half of your Social Security benefit. So now, once you have this, all of your income plus, tax-free municipal bond interest, and then half of your gross Social Security benefit, if that number falls below a certain level, none of your Social Security is subject to tax. And then, depending on whether you're filing as a single filer or as married filing jointly, you'll hit different brackets, and a different percentage, a higher or lower percentage of that benefit is subject to tax. I'll show you that, show you those income brackets now. Okay, so right here on the screen, right here you can see this provisional income. This table shows how much of your Social Security benefit is subject to tax, based on the formula that I described. So like I said, you take your gross income, you add in those tax preferenced income sources like tax-free municipal bond interest, and then half of your Social Security benefit. Now, take that number, and where does it fall? If you're married filing jointly and it's less than $32,000, then none of your Social Security benefit is subject to tax. The amount that falls in between, if it falls between $32,000 and $44,000, half of that benefit is taxed. Half of your benefit is taxed, or I should say subject to tax. And if your provisional income number is greater than $44,000, then 85% of your Social Security benefit is subject to tax. Now you can see for a single filer, these bracket numbers are lower. Now looking at this, these numbers seem kind of low, but I should say that even if you're in this category, provisional income being higher than $44,000 a year, you still have 15% of that benefit, which will be tax-free. And we can, the most common, thing that I hear is, that's horrible that it's taxable in the first place. Well, okay, well, so be it. Maybe that's the case, or for right or wrong. But as it stands today, playing the hand you're dealt, it's a income source that, even at its worst, 15% of that benefit is coming to you tax-free. So something to be aware of. So coming back to our example of the two retirement scenarios, that's why you have two households, both with $90,000 coming in the door. And even though this retired couple has a larger Social Security benefit, less of that benefit is subject to tax. And it's because of this provisional income rule. They only have to count half of this, and they have a much smaller other income number. What this really is illustrating, what the point that I want to get across here is that planning around your Social Security, huge opportunities here to kind of get outsized tax benefits from just understanding how the system works, understanding provisional income, modeling out those cash flows in retirement, and this can go a huge long way to helping you to manage costs in retirement. And I didn't go into it just now, but also based on your income numbers, this also impacts how much you pay for your Medicare Part B premiums. So that's how understanding Social Security and proper tax planning can impact the cost of healthcare during retirement. So I'm going to scroll down here, and we're going to take a look at the actual tax bill for these two clients. Married filing jointly. What's fascinating here, in column 1 here, we'll go right to here, we have an adjusted gross income of $32,000 for this couple, and an adjusted gross income of $70,000 for this in this scenario. Take out the standard deduction, and scenario 1, they have no taxable income. Scenario 2, $37,000 of taxable income. This is a difference between $0 in federal taxes and $4,000 for federal taxes. And fascinating, both couples in both scenarios, $90,000, but the composition of that income has a direct impact on your expenses in retirement. Difference of $4,000 in this very simple scenario. So number 1, retirement killer, not understanding how Social Security works, not doing proper planning with it, looking at it from an income and a tax perspective is a major retirement killer. And frankly, if good planning is done in this, with Social Security, it's going to go a long way of providing a lot of peace of mind. So let's look at the next retirement killer, major issue that I see with people who are in retirement or about to retirement, and frankly that's causing a lot of these concerns that were coming up, is not having a time-based investment plan for your retirement. Famously, or infamously, there are so many ways that you could manage your investments in order to replace your paycheck, replace your income when you're retired. Well, professionally, you weren't an investment manager. You've never managed a pension. You've never been in charge of being the steward of a big pool of money that has to last you the rest of your life. So it's no shock to me that this is a major concern of most retirees. And it wasn't so much the case in the past because more people had pensions. So the whole managing of an investment portfolio to generate, a retirement paycheck, as it were, is a new thing. It used to be, taken care of for you more than it is today, right? So when it comes to investing, this also goes along with the biggest concerns that retirees have for inflation, right? My purchasing power, how do I keep my ability to increase my income over time so that I can keep up with inflation? And then famously, the other concern of, okay, so exactly how do I manage this? Am I going to take income? Am I going to do like a dividend strategy? Am I going to allow myself to be talked into buying an annuity by somebody? How am I going to do this, right? So I'm going to show you the most helpful concept to investing in retirement. It's the number one thing. I think this one idea, is by far, if you get this right, then, you already got a B, right? You can do some extra things to get an A, but this is the main thing. So I'm going to come back to, let's hop over to this a retirement scenario, and let's look at a little example retirement income plan. Okay, so on the screen here, we are looking at an example couple. They're in retirement, retiring in their late 50s, early 60s, husband and wife, and they've got $2 million. They have Social Security benefits. That's their only sources of assets and retirement income. And they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we manage our portfolio in order to create this retirement paycheck? So we run projections, we figure out everything that they need to do in order to, we figure out that it's sustainable for them to have about $10,000 a month coming from their plan. But then the next question is, okay, so how do I actually execute? How do I implement that? Okay, fun idea, but do I keep it in cash? Do I do a diversified portfolio? Do I try to invest in dividend-paying stocks and real estate? What is the method? So I'll get to the principle that I was just describing, which is invest based on when that money needs to be turned into cash. So very simply put, if I have something that I need to pay for in a week, where should I have that money? Not invested. It should be in your checking account, right? To pay your bills. Now, on the flip side, if I have money, if there is money that I know I am not going to spend, maybe ever, or as best I can tell, I'm not going to need it for a really long time, how should that money be invested? It should not be invested in cash. That would be the wrong tool for the job. It ought to be invested in something that is diversified, but has a reasonable expectation of growth. And not just any growth, but growth above inflation, right? Now, this ultimately is how you balance kind of the Jekyll and Hyde situation of investing in retirement, okay? On one hand, you need some stability within your portfolio because famously, you don't want to be taking money out of a stock portfolio when the stock market is going down. Now, on the flip side, you have to be invested in the market and in assets that have the potential for growth so that you can, defeat the other boogeyman in retirement, which is inflation. And this is the paradox. This is the issue we face, and this is how we manage it. We have money set aside for near-term spending that is invested extremely conservatively. Typically with a client or with, when I'm helping somebody create their own custom retirement income plan, I'll have them set aside something like 2 to 3 years in like a high yield savings account. 2 to 3 years of planned cash flows, not, something else, right? So the idea of like, should I have 30% or 80% or 60-40? Don't start there. Start with, okay, based on my income plan, how much am I going to spend? How much money am I anticipating to pull out of my portfolio in the first 2 to 3 years? Okay, awesome. Now we know how much you need to have set aside in something like short-term government bonds, guaranteed, or a money market account, and you're good to go. This helps protect you from market volatility. It helps you to stay on track even when the market is going down. And it also, what I think is most important, is it helps you to have confidence in just being able to spend even and just kind of living your life and detaching yourself kind of mentally and emotionally from what's happening in the market. Because I've got a couple years of money just sitting in earning a couple percent interest, and I don't have to worry about or be glued to my finances every day about what's happening with my stock portfolio. Because look, I've got plenty of money sitting there safe. Market will come back, and so I'm good to go. Now the question is, how do you know what your expected cash flows are going to be? Well, you got to make a plan. You got to have a retirement roadmap. So here we're looking at this graphic on the screen. This is showing where income is coming from for this retiree. So we have the yellow represents distributions from the portfolio. The light blue represents Social Security from John, and the dark blue represents Social Security from Mary. So in the first couple of years, you can see they're pulling out about just shy of $11,000 a month. Okay, so we do the math. We figure out, okay, how much is coming out of the portfolio? We can look at this, if we look at it in a different way, okay, 131,000. You can see year by year how much is actually coming out of the portfolio, and that money can be set aside in anticipation of those outflows to provide a safety first approach to retirement investing. Now, here we go. Money that we know we are not going to spend, that is not earmarked to be spent for decades, that needs to be invested in a diversified, growth-oriented portfolio, and not going to get into the details of specific investment advice or anything like that. For this type of video, that's really something I'm only comfortable doing on a one-on-one in a one-on-one call. But yeah, that is the basic issue that retirees have. All right, now the third retirement killer that I want to go over is not having a flexible retirement income plan. The best method, I believe, to having a flexible retirement income plan is using a guardrail approach. Now, why is this such a retirement killer? Well, a guardrail approach to retirement income addresses all of these concerns that lead the majority of Americans to feel uncomfortable with their finances in retirement. Now, what I have seen in practice is that retirees, even when they are financially secure in retirement, they have done extremely well. Those people still often worry about all of these same things. Even when I can look at their plan objectively and say, you're good to go, you don't need to worry about this stuff, they are still concerned, right? I think part of that, sometimes there can be a knowledge gap or an understanding gap, but then also, there's just a lot of things going on. And so even when somebody is quite financially secure, they can often still worry about this stuff. So let's go. I want to take a quick look at a retirement guardrail approach to give you an idea of how this retirement income method addresses these major retiree concerns. So we're back with our retired couple, and on the screen you can see that they have their planned retirement paycheck of, after taxes, just shy of $10,000 a month. So what a retirement guardrail does is it gives you guidance for how to manage this plan through time. So on the left-hand side, we start with the portfolio value, $2 million, and we have the planned retirement spending of $10,900. That's the gross amount. On the previous screen, we were looking at the net amount. Okay, now what the guardrails provide us is a framework to say, when do I need to make an adjustment in my spending in order to stay on the road? I like to think of it as kind of like rumble strips more than guardrails. You're driving down the highway and you start to lean over the lane or something a little bit, start to drift, and you hit the rumble strips, and you get back on track, right? You don't need to slam into a guardrail or fly off the highway. Interestingly enough, oftentimes, let's say you were drifting a little bit on the highway. It's a good analogy. We can get a little more. We can get a little bit more out of this. So you're drifting. You hit the rumble strips. What do? You crank the steering wheel to get back on track? No, you probably caused an accident. No, you just gently guide yourself back. That's a slight adjustment, keeps you on track. Not a huge correction. You don't need to slam on the brakes, do anything crazy, just a slight adjustment. And in practice, that's how guardrails work in a flexible retirement income approach. So for example, what do I mean by this? You've got $2 million. Let's say that your portfolio drops by about $500,000 in this example. Okay, what does that mean? Does it mean you need to go back to work? Unretire? No. Over here on the right-hand side, we can see, okay, well, based on this, maybe you drop your spending by about 5%, temporarily to just keep yourself on track. Not, slamming the brakes or making a hard jerk on the steering wheel. Just a little tweak to get back on track. Okay, awesome. Now on the flip side, this addresses the other major concern that retirees face. Managing retirement income plans for people and providing retirement advice. This is the major issue that I see is people underspending, not giving themselves permission to spend what they could spend or do the things they want to do out of fear. And so this provides a framework to help somebody say, you know what? Okay, I can responsibly spend more than I have been spending. Okay, you can see here, okay, my portfolio went up by about 18%. Oftentimes that means, you can have a permanent increase in spending of about the same percentage, about 19% of your income. So this provides a framework for somebody to be adaptable and keep their retirement plan on track and have confidence about all of these issues that are stressing out most retirees. So that frankly, when you're retired, you're spending your time doing things that are important to you, are fun for you, and not sitting here, staring at your Fidelity or Schwab accounts online, or, doom reading, articles and trying to figure out what's going to happen in the economy or in the world or whatever. You can just enjoy your life because you've got a strong plan, you have a framework for managing it, and, can have a better life. So hopefully this is helpful. Now you should know why only 44% of people are comfortable in retirement and how you can fix it. But before you walk away from this video, I need to warn you about something. The biggest mistake I see people make is failing to take a deep dive into their retirement plans and only listening and acting on general guidance they see online. If that's all you rely on, you could be making way more mistakes than you actually know about. The only way to know, or to truly know, if your retirement is secure is by taking a comprehensive look at your plan. That's exactly why I'm offering a complimentary one-on-one call. I'll take a look at your exact situation, flag anything of concern, and make sure you're taking the right steps towards a healthy retirement. To get started, just click the link in the description.